Thank you.
So I want us to go past the issue of your alleged victimization. I do believe that the Commission now has sufficient facts to be able to make a determination. As to whether, based on the facts disclosed, whether or not you would qualify as a victim. On the issue of your arrest and detention. But let's now continue with the issues around your arrest and detention. You told the Commission a little while ago that you were granted bail the next day. Was that the case?
Sorry to say, but it was not the next day because it coincided over a weekend.
It
was between Friday and Monday.
So you were ultimately granted bail?
Yes, before I came back to court on Monday.
So how was the case disposed of?
A lot of things happened before the conclusion of the case.
And those would be most interesting for the Commission to hear.
Because at the time of my prosecution, the case of Klute Mane and Mamatar Seka, and the case of Sidi Bojang at the state. Sidi Bojang. But prior to that, it is important to mention during the treason trial of Lang Tombong Tamba and Sajo Fofana, they were brought in chains. And when I raised that complaint in court that they should not be chained in court,
kiti tela ni ala jabiru kataminti wala nyindiko ako yeminna tanya to kiti yola kalola amanka komi ye blol ni singol min city bari komi ye natimina wala jamfa jawti atabelola wala kam.
And then I filed a writ of prohibition against the state.
Natana dundir ke ka itandi ko mansala ko komi ye wo minke pour ye bondi je kanake wala wo bulusitol ni kukuton
to stop putting the accused persons on chain,
because
it is a violation of their right. And it is obvious to me that this was also reported to the then head of state.
So
So putting up the facts and circumstances surrounding.
And did you think that that would not please the head of state? That you have filed a writ of prohibition?
Prohibition, yeah.
Yes, certainly that will not be pleasing to the head of state.
Niajibe wobekela kaneti wala kumaliti mialonko banko nyatonko wato wotekela kuti mialabe diala.
Because those chains were with his consent.
Katuko wo sitol mialonko yake o molla ke blo ni singol city wo mo feneti mialonko yaka tella kuokang.
And obviously, we all know that he doesn't want anyone challenging his authority.
Mr. Chair, I just wish to remind the Commission that the Commission had seen the letter written by President Jawara during his time on the issue of putting people accused of crimes in this country, putting them in chains. And he had decried the issue and banned, actually, and prohibited the use of chains in this country. I just bring that out for the Commission to reflect on these two different approaches and the different ways in which rights of this nature are respected or flouted, for that matter.
Was that law enforced when the witness dealt with this issue?
It was an executive ban, pretty much, that in this country we should no longer use chains on prisoners or detainees. You can use a handcuff, that's fine. But to use chains, cuff the hands and the legs, and I mean having a chain in between and all that, like they do, for instance, in the US, like people charge. Yeah. I mean, that there was an absolute ban for that. But anyway, I just raised it so that the Commission.
No, it's interesting. Witness, did you cite that law in your petition?
Yes, I did, Mr. Chair. Funnily, my application for prohibition was brought before the same judge who was hearing the treason case.
What?
Interesting.
Yes, my application for prohibition.
But he had already made a pronouncement on the issue.
Yes. And the application was brought before him as well.
Strange.
The interpreter, is he with us? And then,
Chairman,
yaman kamem volem nyindi ko sedo fo ite o danir bundal menke ya safe ya dundi kiti bundado fo kiti o nyinata na tale bambare sedo kamem volem nyindi ko menna na fam ko nyim fon manen do mande wala nyindi ko danir bundal ni ngaw men dane pour o mol ni be nat la kiti o le kakari bulol ni singol ke ka joloy duila o nata na di jojo la me alongo kiti te la me alongo ngaw kuma kon folo men fo men ngaf akonye ko o manke ki tumirde men nat ata nyati no men nat ata nyati no wala nyindi ko nyimoli da fa jam fa jawle kele wala nati ata nyati no amanke nyindi ko ye bulol ni singol men sidi wala nata nyati no silang inata na nyi dandir bundani ay safaro menke kaf me application no inata no nata kiti te la kilingol nyati ngola wala nata kul fa manende ata fe.
And then the leave is required for the hearing of all prohibitory orders.
Mimbije wala nyinti ko ni lefta ko wodi amo sival dundi inyanta kiti dulami ay lefta ka dundi wol nyanta ka sonna folo pour wo kiti yo sinana nje jani bo wo kiti sifa dundi lano wala kaytande ko kuol mi alan ko wolebe kering wo kiti yo kono ka mol mi alan ko sobi moli ke bulol sitani singol e ke nanti nan kiti dinkrat pour isa sambo wo kiti yo to ise wo ko baya e bo.
But the trial judge refused to grant leave.
Bari wo kiti tela nying mi alon ko kiti o nyanta tala wala aman silo walang
On the basis that that is a matter of security and that's an internal matter and not a matter for the state, for the court.
Ako mo fenneti mi yalan ko tanko bunda la ko lem anda manke bunda ti mi yalan ko kiti dula haji soto walal.
Your application was dead even before it was conceived.
Mondete da dari la lesa firo nyinga keta kule mi yalan ko aman nafa so hanin janni wato men ne janna futala fudu nyana futala da.
Exactly what happened.
And then
yes,
what other things happened in between?
There was a lot of confusion about my case. Some were for my prosecution and others were against my prosecution.
Were solutions offered to you, options?
Yes, solutions were offered as regards the settlement or withdrawal of the case from the court.
And you know that is an executive discretion.
Yes, and the only way that you can convince the executive to withdraw a case against you is when you are compliant with the orders.
Silo mi yalon ko iso da maltano pour ka mili yalon ko wolle wo nyaton kolde comme president ngim fon pour ya sondino e nyanta kala molete mi yalon ko atebella frin ko ko le nyanta ka sonala e manyana walang na la kol nyato.
Or when you can show that your prosecution would be an exercise in futility.
For waranto ya itandi ko itela kiti ndronya be kala kiti lete me yalon ko nyato sining abina kala kiti kensan wallet.
Exactly, I will agree with that. Yes.
So you had two options.
Munta kufula wale beibu.
Go to bed with the executive.
Ila ining nyaton ko la kan.
Or you show that your case is so strong that it would be foolish to continue to prosecute you.
Waranto ya itandi ko ila kiti yo nyin tumiro le mel la kan kule me alon ko bambambate kan andu abekela kensen de pour kete kiti.
Which option did you choose?
Ite jumale tombo nyim fulol kono.
Go to bed with the executive?
Taete la ining executive la kan.
Or dare them to prosecute you?
Waranto ye kiti ndi.
Well, I eventually ended up with compliance. That's the second limb. Because
is it real compliance or going to bed with the executive?
Some found ina rawle tombom bam fo ina na ta iglale bang ining executive wala santon ko la kuma kangoti.
Well, sometimes you try to maneuver your way out of the case without actually going to bed with the executive.
Yeah, jawato dobije ka fanna talemi alon ko ibole kelano fo ye dabondi wala yo keso ni ya bond ye ba kono atarafang ining nyumoli ni manta ku imni mantara ku kling.
To become a political prostitute or to fight? Which one did you choose?
Ilang ibina kela politiko multi me yalon ko ibekela momo na.
I mean, in the when we lawyers speak like that, it does not mean in the derogatory way. It means accepting some advances which otherwise you would not accept.
Ni to lawyer ni diam do nyam wala mi manke nyindi ko ma nyi firin ko modo ya mi nyamen comme ni diam do ye ko le nyaat ibe sonna nyine len to lafita men ibe wala ibe tamala wala waranto ye tama nyindola.
Well, I can say both were ongoing.
Because
whilst I was defending the case and the case was ongoing,
I
was equally making efforts to get a nulli or a withdrawal of the case.
What was the demand in exchange?
For
your compliance? in exchange for what you wanted, the knowledge. What was the executive demand?
The first one, obviously, is to compensate the complainant, which is Mr. Sekou Barrow.
Follow, minti wala nyinte ko, mi ya lonko wale wo bore lo nyin nati, priya nehal, yefendiala.
Which I refused.
Balanta wala.
Because I did not offend him. And the second...
Did you cause him any economic losses?
No, I did not cause him any losses at all. Because the property...
So the issue of compensation would not necessarily arise. Because a compensation would be for a loss sustained.
Kato nyingam ala kavoro iba juso nyabula ningula mukula me alonko man finte ko nyinkono kato ima sababu kula ala bala menda na sababu fota ala na vulola.
Well, his case was about fighting for possession of a piece of land.
Yala tele diamo keta minti wala nyinta abe noma sadara ke kan kenola mi alonko akatel tam.
But then the demand was to give him another piece of land. That I should give him another piece of land, which I refused.
Well, he withdrew his case.
He withdrew the case, the complaint, at the police. Because my colleagues were there with my family, all descended on him and appealed to him until he agreed to a withdrawal.
I was in fact referring to the withdrawal of the suit. He gave instructions for you to abandon his cause.
Kango di puru itesi tamani msilo la mialongo puru ya kesi yonying ya boje.
With that, he ought not to be entitled to any compensation.
Woto wakang woto sulata je waranta je amanjara puru ate kusoto mialongo juzi nyaburangole.
Well, his demand for withdrawal of the suit has been complied with because it was withdrawn.
Coming fire ko come kitu idea moni bondi police ole afene mi an ka sonto wala ka to ketala no.
He agreed in writing to withdraw all of the complaint itself before the court.
But anata na som fana ko coming wo bolero kono killing kono sontale pro ko wol bondi fang hani kabri wato kiti obekere.
And when that withdrawal was served on the then DPP, he made a withdrawal of that withdrawal. And then the matter proceeded. But during the proceedings, I must say this, the trial magistrate appealed to me to do something about this case before I will get a conviction.
Was it really an appeal? Or an advice?
Well, I will say it was an appeal in the sense that he said he did not want to do what he
would be legally obliged to do.
Exactly.
Isn't that really
exactly
an advice to you? My friend, do something. Otherwise, I'll be obliged to send you to jail.
Do something that I don't want to do against my wish.
So you are being advised.
And warned as well.
Exactly.
Well, because of that, I did everything I could.
That advice was not in a vacuum.
Yes.
Tell us precisely what he wanted you to do.
Well, exactly what he wanted was to make efforts to secure a withdrawal of the case before the court.
Alafta min fam la wala nyinti ko komi nga kato beke kaje ko nyindi amoni ya bondi kiti bunda nyintole.
Which I tried.
Ya lon ko nga kato kele.
How?
Nyadi.
Now, we were talking about the first limb of compensation, which failed, and then the second limb was to comply with the executive.
Coming kuma ku follow ni wala kacha coming wala kanne hal diamoni bang fula jonga wala nyinti ko coming ka president ni pour ka songa la kola isaje ki diamoni.
Could you explain that further?
O fanu ni o sada bang faye jam fado man.
To comply with the executive.
Song ni nyaton ko la kangola.
That is to show allegiance.
Wala kaitan na fasaro kaitandi.
To the president.
President kaitandi nga president fasale.
Was that showing compliance?
O mvula de mialon ko kaitandi ko isontale.
Or to curry favor and lobby the president?
Warando ka dani do dani.
We have to call a spade a spade.
Yes.
We don't have to win the dress things or sugarcoat them.
I
call
will
them by what they are.
The reason why I said compliance. What it means to me was to not to defend the cases that I was defending against the state.
Ntefe wokoto minti wala nyinte ko nkana lo diamol mi yalan ko wolebe ke kanu kitio kono pour nkana continue ka lo
defending the cases that I was defending against the state.
Wala ka lo diamol ye mi yalan ko mansala dabe wo diamol kono.
Was that condition put to you?
Oh, yo sartol nying warando o kuma kan nying ye landi nyati ngola ban ko nyul.
Was that demand made of you?
Fo kanindro nying yo landi nyati ngola ban.
Yeah, it was not expressly mentioned to stop defending cases, but when you are asked to comply with the executive.
Bari amanke ko ya fanyele fo safero fon fanala coming ngake bari coming we mi tande wala ni coming nyanta sonnale nyaton koma.
Who told you to comply with the executive? Because that by itself does not make much logical sense.
Mala fan ko pour yeso nyaton ko ma ka ro kuma kan fon dron o kuma kan de mi yalon ko skunguta mutanor.
You comply with rules.
Yeson ikasong startol le mi yalon ko be lari.
You agree with the wishes of the executive.
Yeson executive santon ko la dianyo fe ko.
You submit or deliver the demands of the executive.
Ya fayi tandi waranto ya di executive wala santon ko la dianyi ko la.
What were you told?
The compliance here means to agree with the wishes of the executive.
Ni ko nyin compliance ni wala nkasong wokoto minti wala nyinti ka
and what were the wishes of the executive?
Executives nya sak santon ko la kanindir ko de memula dianyi ko tije.
That is to stop defending the cases in court.
Wala nka ndaha ka lo nyin diamol mi awlebe kering kiti bundato.
Who asked you to do that?
Well, if you don't mind, I can give you the name.
Of course, of course.
Not on air.
Well, Mr. Mo, don't you think that this is one instance where the name of the person ought to be announced publicly?
Mr. Mboji mamira nyinem di janna mu dingirare nyimare nyinto nga to lankene wa fonyo kono.
We are trained to be confidential in our job.
Yalong yentol karandi minna wala nyinte ko prunga kullo soto na do ko la fana.
Well, we are talking about obstruction of justice here.
We are
talking about interference with the judiciary. So don't you think that that situation, in fact, warrants or heightens the public needs to know?
Ria mirasai wo komembe lare wo nyama jarata le bampuru e kaw ko nyim mabo ka mabo jamara hamano maba.
Well, what the efforts I did were.
Could you respond to that?
Sorry.
The issue we are dealing with
involves
interfering with with legal processes, with the judiciary, and obstruction of justice. Don't you think that these two important violations heightens the public right to know who was involved in that? I stand guided by your wisdom on that.
We have a duty of confidentiality.
On these two important issues?
No, right now, the issue is not about the interference with the judiciary or administration of justice.
The
issue is about a proposed nolly, that is if the request for a settlement out of court is granted.
Coming Mukuati wala nyindiko puruka kit milbe kitindro ke kam puruke sondi ye kiti onyi bondi kiti lata atara ko coming kachakela katala songo katala puru bekachala nyame ye kol be landi mirankele.
But isn't that a trivialization of exactly what it is? Because what is being talked about is to fraudulently obtain a nolly.
Atumbe memfo kanje wala mindi ko ku soto mo bulu me alon ko tapale ya ku wala noliti wala kiti onyin ka band ka bula pour e kana kitindi
on the basis of a political compromise.
Andu membe ko ma wala mindi ko politiko wala ko nyim beta.
Which is it?
Jumala kilim.
Yeah, firstly, I will not agree with fraudulent acquisition of a nolly.
Okay.
Follow
but I understand why you would not.
Because professionally, we owe a duty of confidence to each other. Confidentiality.
Yes. But allow me to interject on that. But that is only for client and counsel relationship. But
yes.
This was not a client and counsel relationship, was it? Because there's a technical catch here. And you know it.
Yes.
I don't want to disclose that.
I know.
So this relationship could not have been lawyer-client relationship. So where is the confidentiality?
This is between...
Is it honor between two men? That's what you're trying to say. But it is not legally guaranteed confidentiality or legally protected confidentiality.
No, not legally. This is honor amongst honor between two men, yes.
Okay. So proceed.
Yes, but eventually there was a conviction and a custodial sentence. And again, there is an improper exercise of discretion.
But before we get to the conviction, we were talking about two limbs here. That is the political prostitution, quote unquote, and the I dare you to prosecute me. You said you took the first option. That is to go to bed with the executive. And to submit to the demands of the executive. What were those demands?
Well, I just mentioned this, and that was, in fact, I can say that is in summary, but none of these conditions were fulfilled and none of them could be applicable in my case. Because I continued defending my cases.
But in spite of the continued prosecution, Did you submit to the demands of the executive?
I tried, but I failed.
Well, maybe you failed to their satisfaction.
Exactly. Yes. Satisfy them.
What did they want from you? You told us to drop the cases you are defending. Was it limited to that? Don't switch me to cross-examination mode.
No, that was not all. Because that's just one of the conditions.
But
and I could not agree with that condition.
What were the other conditions?
Like I said, when I said compliance with the executive is to obey and the wishes of the executive.
I am trying to lead here. So take the cue and come up with the responses. Otherwise, I'll have to switch, change the style of questioning.
It doesn't matter, Council.
Mr. MBOGE, wasn't it the case that you are required to support Jammeh?
Yeah, Mr. MBOGE, for you manka kuola nya de wala nyi de kanindro ke bulle pour ye Jammeh ye kala kanun teri ba.
That's what I exactly said. That's to obey the wishes of the executive.
Let's just answer the questions. I gave you the chance to bring them out.
Yeah, that amounts to supporting the executive.
And the support for Jammeh was not just limited to that perceived support or I am now for Jammeh. You had to go publicly in support of Jammeh, correct?
Yes, that is right. That is
and
right.
You had to go and campaign for Jammeh.
That is correct.
And including public appearances for Jammeh.
That is right.
And not only that, you set up a rival bar association
to
become an echo chamber for the wishes of Jammeh. You're smiling, Mr. Booth.
Yeah, I beg to differ on that last point. The rest, I agree with you about campaigning for him. I did. Yes. But setting up a rival bar as an echo.
You set up a rival bar association, correct?
Yes, I did.
And it was based on an advice given to you.
Yes, that is right.
And that advice was based on what was Jammeh's best interest.
Well, I wouldn't agree that the setting up of the rival bar was for the purpose of satisfying the
Wasn't it for the benefit of Jammeh?
No, I disagree with that.
But clearly at the time, Jammeh was not happy with the existing bar association. Correct?
Not only Jammeh, but I myself.
But just answer the question.
Yes,
but just answer the question.
I will explain after my answer.
I'll give you the chance.
I'm doing that now. We can do that concurrently.
But just allow me to ask.
Yeah, I want to beef up your suggestions. I agree, yes.
Let me ask the questions I want to ask, and then you'll be given the chance to respond.
Explain. Yeah, I want to explain as I answer your question.
Answer the questions first. And because I'm the one.
Then explain. I have that right. And
of course, your rights here would be respected.
Seriously, I believe that.
Yes, definitely.
I believe that.
So Jammeh was not happy with the existing bar association.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay. And it was important for Jammeh that there was a mouthpiece in the legal fraternity which echoed what he wanted.
Well,
that might be a fact.
Okay. And that was important because the voice of the Bar Association need to be counted. By a similar voice.
This time, yes.
Just answer the question.
Yes, but there is a but not on behalf of Jammeh.
Just answer the question.
I will answer and explain.
Okay, we would come to that.
We can do it concurrently to save the time and so that I don't forget what I want to say.
I would remind you.
You cannot, because it's in my mind, not in your mind.
Okay. All right. Okay. But the fact of the matter is, Mr. MBOGE, Jammeh needed that mouthpiece to counter the loud voice of the bar. He needed that. You've agreed to that.
That might be the case.
And it was suggested to you to establish that rival bar. You have agreed to that.
Yes, I'll agree to that.
And the person who suggested that to you is a proxy of Jammeh.
Well, I wouldn't say no. I would say yes.
Exactly. So when this person suggested it to you, he suggested it for the benefit of Jammeh.
Maybe at the time, yes.
And you agreed to do it.
Yes, I agreed to do it, not only for the benefit of Jammeh.
Just a moment. But when you agreed to do it, you had the full knowledge that this was mainly intended by the person who suggested to you that this was to benefit Jammeh among other benefits. Correct?
Not all.
Among other benefits.
Not entirely Jammeh's benefit.
But in that case, wouldn't you just accept that you were being used?
I was not being used. Because
I
have my own reasons.
But you became available for their own purposes.
Not for their own purpose, but for my own purpose.
And what was your purpose?
Thank you. If you are in a situation like a matter before a court, prior to my arrest, it was lawyer Moses Richards. I attended that meeting, to an emergency meeting of the bar, where I gave my full-fledged support to the bar. But after the case of Moses, when it was my turn, I did not get the much needed support from the bar. So where do I stand? I have to take a position. If you don't have the support of your colleagues, and you are in the middle of a case, and it is suggested to you that if you want to get out of this case, this is what you should do. Doing that is not to the benefit of Jammeh, it's to my own benefit.
Mr. MBOGE,
from a different perspective.
Mr. MBOGE, we do work here at the TRRC. We are paid for the work that we do.
I agree.
But we are not working for ourselves.
I agree.
You went to work for Jammeh. Set up a rival bar association. We will give you this reward. We would give you a knowledge. Who did you go to work for? We know your objective was to get the knowledge. But it's also a fact that you went to work for Jammeh.
I beg to differ.
Okay, I won't.
Cancel.
Look, this is.
I beg to differ on that.
But Mr. Mbodj, you can disagree. But this is basic logic.
No.
You are looking at it to the commission and we would move on.
You are looking at it from one angle, and that's from the angle of the Jammeh regime.
There are two angles. There are two angles.
If you watch it from both sides and come out with the benefit.
Just hear me out. You have the service provider and the benefit. All right? The service provider requested you to do something. Correct? They were, okay. And you did that for two reasons. To satisfy what they want, so that you can get what you want. You agree?
Yes.
So I'll just leave it at that.
That is not all.
No, the point I want to establish is you were used. Whether there was a convergence of interest or not.
Yeah, you have to look at it from both sides and not from only one side. If you want to do justice,
the fact remains, Mr. Mbodj, that they told you go and unscrew the nuts from that wheel. You went and did it. Whether you wanted the driver to have an accident or not, you were procured to do it. You agree?
I agree with that.
Fantastic.
What I'm saying,
fantastic.
You are not looking at it from two angles.
No, but you have just agreed, so there's no point going over this.
No need going over it.
But how did you feel that you are now being used by the executive against your own colleagues?
My colleagues were used before me, against me, before I was used against them.
Without agreeing with you, appearing to agree with you on the first premise. Let us assume, without conceding, that they were used against you. Do you believe that was wrong?
To use your colleagues against you?
To use them against you. Do you believe that was wrong?
To me, it will be wrong, but to those that are being used, it may be right. One man's food is another one's poison. One will benefit and one will suffer.
So you also decided, knowing that this is absolutely wrong, you also decided to do it, knowing fully well that it's wrong.
Not absolute. I'll put that word on quote. I don't like that absolute.
Okay, all right. You knew, or you believed that what they did was wrong. Nonetheless, you decided to do the same thing.
Well, I will say what they decided was for their use and benefit, and what I did was for my own use and benefit.
Selfish, is it?
Selfish.
Machiavellian. You agree with all that?
Well, I wouldn't agree with your Machiavellian theory. Not anything. I don't go to that extent.
Okay. But Mr. Mbodj, I'm really sorry that Jammeh used you in the way that he did for you to go against one of the most honorable associations in this country.
I wouldn't agree with that. But Rather, I would say that it was the most honorable association, like you said, that failed to protect its own members from the abuse of Yaya whilst defending them. Because my arrest led from the meeting of the GBA, emanated from there.
Okay.
To my severe comments.
But Mr. MBOGE, irrespective of how angry the executive was against you, you gave them cause to have you arrested, to have you detained, to have you prosecuted. It was not based on a vacuum. You see, Jammeh was not just angry against you. He was angry against the members of the bar in general. Was that not the case?
Not the bar in general. It is only those who are standing against his interests.
But
it is individual rather than collective.
Were you the only one?
Surely I was not the only one.
There were many others.
Certainly, I agree.
There was LS Camara taking cases against government. There was SM Tambedu taking cases against government. There was Nene Cham taking cases against government. There was BS Ture.
We were all together.
But none of those were prosecuted. Because they did not have a cause. So that your prosecution was not just something manufactured out of thin air. You gave them concrete basis.
In response to that, I will simply say there's no man who is infallible.
No, I understand. And Mr. MBOGE, let's get it clear. I did not even go into who did the thumb printing. Because for me, it really does not matter. And I am not interested in whether you are culpable or not. I am not interested in that. And certainly this commission is not about that. The issue is whether there was a basis. Because we're going by the law. The law says when there is a reasonable suspicion that the person has committed a crime, you can arrest the person. Correct statement of law?
That is right.
Okay. Was there reasonable basis to believe you committed a crime?
Yes, I did concede to that.
Exactly. So your prosecution was based on something concrete, and it was based on proper application of the law, regardless of the wishes of the executive.
The conclusion was wrong, with due respect. If you allow me, I'll tell you why.
You see, we cannot sit here and impinge judicial conclusions especially when those conclusions were not appealed. And overturned. Our test of legality here would be that this is the law or this is what the courts have decided.
I can tell you there was an appeal.
Was the appeal overturned?
One by myself.
Was the appeal overturned? Was the decision overturned?
The appeal by my then counsel was against the conviction and not the sentence. Against the sentence and not the conviction.
So in effect, by that you have accepted that you have committed a crime. And the judge have found you guilty.
I denied the charge.
I
denied the charge from the beginning.
Okay. Mr. MBOGE,
if you say that I was convicted, yes.
Okay.
Not that I accepted committing an offense.
All right.
I will never commit. I'll never accept that in my life.
Okay. I understand. I understand the sentiments.
I will never accept that.
I understand the sentiments involved. But what I'm trying to interrogate here
is the commission of an offense insinuates menstruation. Which is a strict liability offense. What I'm trying to say is that I never had the mens rea to commit any of these allegations. That is committing a crime. Because I did not forge. All right.
No,
let me not go.
I understand. I understand the points you're raising, Mr. MBOGE.
Yes.
But that is far from what I'm trying to say.
Well, in opposite angles, because you are looking at it differently.
Yes. What I'm trying to show is the court gave you two things: a conviction and a sentence. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree.
And the law gave you the right that if you do not agree, you can appeal it.
Which was done.
Correct?
I have done that.
And you had a choice to appeal against the conviction or to appeal against the sentence or to appeal against both. Correct?
I did that as well.
Just answer.
Yes.
That is correct.
Yeah.
You chose to appeal against the sentence. You did not appeal against the conviction.
That is not correct, Counsel.
Oh, okay.
I did not choose to appeal against conviction. It was counsel who was representing me that filed an appeal against conviction without appealing against, filed an appeal against the sentence and did not appeal against the conviction.
So what does, first instance, counsel does not act independently. Counsel acts on the instructions of the client. And this was your own case, Mr. MBOGE.
Yes,
I would be hard-pressed to believe that counsel would just sit in chambers and do the papers and send it without reference to you. You are a senior lawyer. That will not happen.
This is exactly what happened. Because, if you allow me, when I was sentenced, I was denied access to the public. And I could not have access to my lawyer. And all she could do was to appeal against the sentence.
But do you also believe that if there were reasons to appeal against the conviction, the lawyer would have done so?
She never participated in the trial. She's not,
but the record was there for her to study.
Filing an appeal requires you as counsel to go through the entire record so you know where the court went wrong. But in the absence of the records, what is obvious to counsel is there is a sentence and a custodial sentence. So if counsel decides from the facts asked before her to file an appeal against sentence,
that
was not what I did or what I said in person. It is correct.
Let's put it this way. The appeal against the sentence and failure to appeal against the conviction implies that you had no complaints against the conviction. That does not imply that?
No, I don't agree with that. Because if I had, excuse me, there's a serious miscarriage of justice here. If I had the opportunity to meet my lawyer, I would have given her instructions to appeal against both sentence and conviction. When I was convicted and denied access to the general public, including my lawyer, the only option that is open for the lawyer was to file an appeal against sentencing. That is what she did.
I would agree with you that the denial of access to your lawyer was a violation of your right.
And that led to a miscarriage of justice.
Let me just come. But we have this procedure at mile 2. The moment a convicted person arrives, you are given the forms for appeal.
Which I have done. I've done that. I've done that.
Just allow me to come. So you had the forms. You therefore had the option to indicate what you were appealing against. Correct?
They have a form.
Yes, and you being a lawyer,
yes,
you knew how to deal with these forms.
This is a form that is against conviction. It's a simple plain paper.
It's a form against both, actually.
But the original appeal I filed was against both conviction and sentence. Let me explain for you to understand.
So you personally filed an appeal
in prison.
Yes. And your lawyer also filed an appeal.
Separately. Yes. And they were given different numbers. One went before Justice Mbai, and the other went before Justice Nkia. But because I need legal representation to facilitate the speedy process of the appeal, I abandoned the appeal before Justice Mbai that I filed. And then we pursued the appeal before Justice Nkia.
Justice Inkia. You are a lawyer.
Mr. MBOGE,
a senior lawyer in this jurisdiction.
I am not a lawyer in prison. I am not a lawyer in prison. I cannot defend myself in prison. I have to defend it by somebody outside the prison. So you cannot blame me for the fault of somebody who was acting outside the prison. I cannot be responsible for that. And I will never take that responsibility.
You see, Mr. MBOGE, I would not wish emotions or tempers to rise.
No, you are directing me to a point that I will never accept. That I appeal against sentence and not conviction. I said I appeal against both.
One last question on that.
Yes.
You personally appealed against sentence and conviction.
Ita fonga kundingo ye dundiru ke pour ye senkan jiberke la busaro anin loi blo le kamina.
It went before which judge?
Atatra kitindila juma
Justice
Justice
Mbai.
Mbai.
And your lawyer appealed against only conviction.
Sentence.
Against sentence.
Ila lawyer nyana ta dundiro ke busaro mi ye wala kam pour ya senkan
That went before Justice Nkia.
Wala tatra Justice Nkia nyati ngona.
Who made the decision to withdraw one of the appeals?
Jumale nata kuntundiro ke pour ye wo senkan jiber fulol ni ye kilim bondi.
I did not make that decision.
But you just told us you decided to abandon the one before in Kia.
Yes. Why? Because if there is, excuse me, counsel, let me explain. If you have two cases before a court, one you are representing yourself in person, and the other you are being represented by a counsel, which one will you opt for? Obviously, where you are represented.
I would go for consolidation.
The records, the form that is used to appeal in prison is a sketchy one. It is only an appeal against conviction and sentence, but without any particulars. It doesn't indicate. Sorry.
Kan jibero nying akake sefer sutu net dorong abuka dante kende ke kol mi yalan ko ebo ebe senka ilafta yo le senkan jibe.
So if counsel files an appeal on your behalf, obviously you know, without telling you that the appeal filed by your lawyer is the one that will be given precedence.
No, I don't believe that, Mr. MBOGE.
Well, you are entitled to your opinion, but that is my
Mr. MBOGE. And I base it on some important legal principle.
Yes.
The lawyer is the taxi driver.
I tell him taxi driver
and the client
and the
determines the destination.
I tell ka for motoni nyanta tala dami mafon.
So you instruct your lawyer to do what you want him to do.
You are failing again. I did not instruct. You did not hear that. I said I was denied access to the public. You did not hear that, counsel, or you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear what I'm saying.
No, Mr. MBOGE.
Or you have taken a stand and a position that you want to pursue, and you will never reach that conclusion.
Okay.
Because I will never agree with you.
I would leave this point, Mr. MBOGE.
I think it will be better.
This is not very significant. All I wanted to show is you made the decision to withdraw, to abandon one of your appeals.
I did not make that decision. I was in prison, and I cannot make that decision.
So when you said you abandoned the case before in Kia, you made a
mistake?
No,
not in Kia.
Before Mbai.
Yes.
When you said you abandoned that one, did you make a mistake?
I did not make a mistake because my lawyer pursued the matter that she filed before Justice Nkia.
But
and I followed that suit because there I am being represented by somebody who can handle my case.
Exactly. And this is the point. The one that carried both, you dropped. The one that carried only one, you pursued.
And you don't know why, because I never had access to even the notice of appeal. I never saw it. This is only between the court and my counsel.
Well,
if I had seen that appeal, I would have advised my counsel to file an appeal against the conviction. Okay. But I never saw it.
Okay.
So I will not take responsibility for that.
No, okay, we accept.
Yes.
We accept.
Yes.
I mean, and I do clearly regret that you are not given access
to the public,
even
my lawyer,
to your lawyer. Well, yes, you're not giving access to your lawyer, and that is a violation.
I'm glad that you have recognized that.
But of course, here we do recognize rights. And all we are...
But you are trying to blame somebody who is in prison and filing an appeal before a court of law and is being represented by a lawyer, and you are saying, why did you abandon this and then take that? I did not make that choice. I had no choice. Well, a prisoner have no choice.
Mr. MBOGE, all we are trying to do is to get the facts.
Thank you very much. And now I think I have made the facts clear.
And be rest assured
yes,
that we have no interest in any personal interest in these issues. You know even better than I do that in this business, we interrogate the facts dispassionately. And we have a sense of justice to ensure that we bring facts out, regardless of which way they go.
Yeah, but when you present the facts, you try to make a distinction between, obviously, what is right and what is wrong. I know as counsel you can do that, but when your witness disagrees with you, I think you should consider the evidence that is being given to you, but not what you perceive.
But I have not stated any particular opinion here.
Of course, you have done.
What is the opinion?
Please, let's carry on. I think we are past that stage.
I think so.
Yes.
Let's carry on.
Let's save the time of the commission.
Let's carry on.
Please.
That's right. And then you continue to campaign for Jammeh.
You continue to campaign for Jammeh.
Yes.
Did he give you what you wanted?
I didn't talk to Jammeh, and I did not make any request to Jammeh.
But did you make a request to his proxy? The person on the list you just provided.
I did not make a request. It was like an advice given to me. This is what you should do if you want to get knowledge. And I tried what I could, but could not succeed.
So you did the things they requested you to.
Not all. I could not comply with
but
all
of the things you were requested to do, you publicly supported Jammeh?
Yes, I did.
You campaigned for him?
Yes, I did.
You set up the rival bar association?
That is correct.
And you made pronouncements in the name of that rival bar association, which were supportive of positions of Jammeh.
I wouldn't agree with pronouncements. That statement was not a personal statement. There was a conflicting, I told you that there was a serious crisis which was created at this particular time. And this, if you
was it created by the existence of two bar associations?
If you allow me to explain. This was between the GBA, the Judiciary, and the Ministry of Justice. All these three were stakeholders in my case. And because I could not get any support from the GBA, and I am in the clause of the executive, and the judiciary should decide my fate.
And with the support of the Ministry of Justice?
Yeah, with the support. But then there was a breakdown even there. There was a serious breakdown between these three stakeholders in my case.
But doesn't that really reflect the depth to which we have fallen? That is the executive, that Yahya Jammeh ran the show. He divided and ruled. You did what he wanted or go to jail. Could secure people to do his bidding. And those who challenge him would go 6 feet deep. Or to the 5-star hotel. Or on exile. Wasn't that the case, Mr. MBOGE?
Yes, I always agree with you to an extent.
Not
100%.
Thank you very much.
Because there is always a defense. For me, out of every situation,
Mr. MBOGE, you just being a lawyer.
I'm not only being a lawyer, I'm being
having
practical.
a view or an opinion on everything.
I have my reservations on everything.
But the fact remains that this was the situation. Do what Jammeh wanted, you survive.
You survive.
You
yes.
don't, you go 6 feet deep. 5-star hotel.
Or you go to the graveyard. Yeah. I agree with you.
You agree with that?
I agree with you on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I have no further questions.
Thank you very much indeed, Council, and thank you very much, Mr. MBOGE, for coming to testify before the Commission.
Abaraka bake council, abaraka bake Mr. MBOGE ilana ajang pour kanela sudiando di nying commissioner nyatilo.
I have just one short question before turning to the commissioners.
Nga nyinin kar sutu na soto lafta kamin kala janimba diamo di la commissioner la.
What was the impact of the establishment of a rival bar association on the Association of Lawyers in the Gambia?
Mune nata ke kolya kulti kabri wato mi yalonko ite nata na nying loya kafu do ba do lo mi yalonka nin loya la wo kafu ba do man killing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I
Mr. Chair.
appreciate that question very well. The setting up of the rival bar is purely based on my reasoning, my position that the GBA, that is the Bar Association, when it's being used, fight its own members by the same Jammeh. Because I have records here that can prove that the same GBA, on the instructions of Yaya Jammeh, filed a petition before the General Legal Council to stop me from practicing in this jurisdiction. And when they failed in that attempt, the then Chief Justice, who ruled against them, was fired 5 days after her decision. And that is Justice Ajimang. I am sure my colleagues have mentioned that here. With the executive interference with the judiciary. And that was one of the finest Chief Justice we had in this jurisdiction. But then the issue of segregation is the key problem of the GBA. And if you don't want to be part of them, the law gives me the power and anyone else who is a lawyer to set up your own association. This is a constitutional right, and it is a legal right. And today, thank God, that the law society, which is called the Rival Bar, is growing from strength to strength and giving a different view and a different position in terms of matters that are before the courts. So it is not a bad thing to have a competitor But we only give options where the GBA cannot do this, and then we provide. And if we cannot do anything, then they can do it. And that is a development of the administration of justice in this country. Because having a single bar in this jurisdiction is a monopoly of the system. And in a democratic state, as ours, everyone have a right to form an association. So what I did was not a legal wrong. It may be displeasing or a moral wrong to others, but it is a right. And that is our position.
Perhaps, Mr. Chair,
in the area, sorry. Yeah, let me just
one
finish
of
this
the
point.
issues on that is the lack of a statutory sanctioned bar association. If that were to be the case, then the legal wrong would come in. And perhaps that is a matter the Commission ought to consider when making its recommendations. Thank you.
Fine. When we get to that point, yes, we will take it into consideration.
Yes, if you may.
Direct response to you, Mr. MBOGE.
Yes.
If you are operating in a realm where competition enhances the institution, yes, that is okay. But in an area where you have fraternity is the order, you have competition there, it may not promote that enhancement.
Yes, I agree. If there is fraternity, that is the right choice. But if there is no fraternity, you have an option to break away. And there is, just in response to what Council said, the LPA, which is the Legal Practitioners Act, have made provision for the GBA or any other professional body. You should be a member of the GBA or any other professional body. So it is legal. There is nothing wrong with having another association.
No, there isn't anything wrong to have that. I know jurisdictions where you have rival bars, bar associations, but those are brought about for very different reasons. It's more question of representation than anything else. In any case, were there any attempts to reconcile these wings of the Gambia Bar Association or the fraternity here in the Gambia?
Yes.
What were those attempts? And why did they not succeed?
At the time of the registration, SM Tambidu, who came here, was the president of the bar, the GBA. And he did make attempts and promised to invite me for a meeting which never materialized. And secondly, the current president, which is Mr. Tal, Saliu Tal, also at the commencement of his tenure, made attempts, proposals to meet, to reconcile, but it never materialized. So that is the position.
Thank you very much. One last point from me. I hope your child who had head injuries from the accident recovered.
Yes, in fact, he was here yesterday. But he couldn't make it today, although he wanted to come. He is healed, but the scars are permanent on the head. And he feels shy, very shy about it. Yes.
Well, I feel sorry for him.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioners, if you have any question, Deputy Chair, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Lead Counsel. Thank you, Witness.
Baraka Chair, Baraka Lead Counsel, Baraka Sedo.
Well, you know when two elephants meet, the grass suffers.
Yeah, the ning sama fulol benda nyamoka badala.
So this was a meeting of two legal luminaries.
Yeah, the ning kede benati miyalon ko lonna fulol lem yanko ye longo soto luala fanala.
And we the poor non-legal people had to struggle to understand your arguments. But really we learned a lot in the process. Thank you. You almost fit the description of the proverbial cat with 9 lives. And by your narrative, you have had near-death, I think 6 near-death escapes.
Yes.
One of which resulted in injury to yourself and to your son, which the chairperson has just talked about. With these experiences, and that of your other colleagues, how do you assess the position of the state during that time?
Ite wato mansakunda mbenu jang ite yela kuonye nia kotobo kajibe yaje nunyadile
in respect to fulfilling its obligations.
Kata fanala mialonko itol nyanta kuol kala mialonko wole nyantema yesas wala
to the human rights principles of the right to life.
Kata fanala mialonko hadama dingo la nyanto ko hadama dingo nyanta la praya baluo soto.
Liberty
anyanta ka fan soto le
and personal security
ndum fana anyanta tanko soto la fongen
of its citizenry.
Ana kuma ning banku dingo nyi.
Thank you.
Baraka.
Thank you very much. I understand the question very well, and this is an issue which is very crucial in the Jammeh era. Which, instead of protecting and defending its citizens, was in hot pursuit of its citizens, to the extent of killing some, maiming some, and sending some into exile. Those who stayed behind have either to remain silent or dance to the tune of the former regime. And I'm sure by this time the Commission have numerous evidence of all those who criticized the former regime. Yes, but just to answer your question directly, the law, which is the Constitution, supreme law, was just there by name, but it was not respected. Because we have seen gross violations of the Constitution. We have seen gross violations of human rights and degrading situations where citizens are treated with disrespect. And we have seen this in almost all the courts. To the extent of violating the rights of citizens, to the extent of treating them in servitude.
kam kata fang banko dingol la nyanto tinya fa la bon fa ngay man na bunya soto e fang.
So you have either the option to remain silent or obey or leave the jurisdiction.
Mimbe bul wala nyini ku saba ye sonkola ye sabarakang wala ye dey ni mo no ye finti banko kang.
I hope that answers your question.
Indeed, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Carr. You have the floor, please.
Commissioner Carr,
thank you, Chairman.
Baraka, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. MBOGE, for your testimony.
Baraka, Mr. MBOGE.
As the Deputy Chair mentioned, you've gone through a lot.
Deputy Chair,
and I want to know specifically how you are able to rebuild your life, especially after the tragic accident you were involved in.
Lafta ka long inata nila balunino nyadile kabri watu miyalan ko ibulata ni accident kolongol kono.
Thank you very much, Mr. Commissioner.
Baraka bake, Commissioner.
Unless I tell the Commission, it will remain a private matter.
For nyaming commissioner wobekele fenati mi abekele ndefangala kullo quality.
The accident has really caused me a lot of financial losses.
Ni accident wa nyim kada ayatina la na fanko funa na sato nya Kenya ay batandi je bakale ngako di jamale dundi je.
And I run into a lot of financial crisis.
Nandana bula kole akul kono ni nata depaso Kenya la.
Because I was able to sustain myself by disposing of my assets throughout the duration of my accident. I went through 4 operations, both in the Gambia and in Senegal, in Dakar.
Gambia, Bangkok, and in Senegal, Dakar, Satekon.
And I had to pay for all these operations personally. And I had some financial issues, commitments that I could not fulfill. But with the help of the Almighty God, I'm able to sustain myself up to date by relying on my savings and my investments.
Thank you. The second question is, in light of the differences that you have enumerated here in the legal profession, what would you suggest to be the way forward in terms of, let me just stop there. What would you suggest to be the way forward?
Yes, I can say this with certainty. There is a possibility of reconciliation on condition we treat each other as equals and not one above the other. The fact that you are financially in a better position than your colleague it doesn't mean that you are a way better than him or her. So if we are able to respect each other and support each other, we can work together as a team. But in the current situation, it is difficult unless it is reversed.
Thank you for answering my question.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Kinte.
Commissioner Kintele left again.
Assalamu alaikum, Lamin.
Assalamu alaikum, Lamin.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam.
You have told us that both presidents made attempts at different times.
Ya fonya janko comme go president fulol be ye ferol kelen follow.
Lawyer Sirif Tambedu.
Lawyer Sirif Tambedu.
And presently Lawyer Tal.
And in Sainten Lawyer Tal.
Aren't you thinking of making similar efforts so that you reciprocate their stance?
Yeah, me fana ite ferol fela bang komitol fana minke fana woke saje fo kuse benno.
In which case, probably you will be able to partner if you will not create a merger. You will be able to partner cordially for the smooth affairs of the law fraternity.
Hana tarafang albe man na kafuno aliyeka kafu kilomoti par koma sembenyo la liye doko kenyo kang isaje puru nying luwa fana nying asetano tarambulu kendola.
Thank you very much, sir.
Aparaka baga.
Like I said earlier, it is a possibility of coming together and working together towards the interests of the judiciary and the legal fraternity as a whole. But like I said, God has created us, but we are not equal. And we will never be equal. Because we are a step ahead of each other. But when you are at the top, God gave you the chance to be at the top. It doesn't mean that you should look down on those below you or under you. Because if you do so, you never know. Circumstances can change tomorrow. And then things can change. Those at the top can come to the bottom, and those at the bottom can go to the top. But just to answer you directly, it is in our mutual interest to work together and come together as a single bar. But this is going to be very difficult. And this is because of the bitterness in the hearts. Not only myself, but even those on the other side. Going to the extent of filing a petition against your colleague to stop him from practicing as a lawyer. It is going to be very difficult to get that person back into the same society. And that explains my position. So, I don't know whether, like you said, I'll be able to approach them. But time will tell. I think patience and wisdom, we can be able to reconcile the differences. I hope I have answered the question, sir.
Yeah, except that I'm suggesting you come up with some terms that you will put on the table. As I said earlier, that will promote a merger or a partnership, a strong partnership for that matter. Rather than being skeptical about the possibility of reuniting also. And remember, in reconciliation, forgiving or forgiveness is prerequisite. You must always forget or at least forgive to be able to create that environment for reconciliation. And I wish you are thinking in that perspective. Thank you.
I'm grateful, sir, for that.
Thank you. Mr. MBOGE, if you have any concluding remarks to make, you may please proceed now.
Mr. MBOGE, now that you come back, he left a community, so I shall continue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, my learned friend. We agree to disagree. It doesn't mean that it is personal. And so after the commission, you will see us chatting and smiling and laughing at each other.
But
now that you are at the judiciary level, we have issues, serious issues at the judiciary. I know the current Chief Justice is trying everything possible to alleviate those conditions. But we do hope that with the support of the recommendations of this commission, you will lend a helping hand to the judiciary in terms of support, because all they need is financial support. There are numerous issues facing the judiciary. Like yesterday, one question on delay of proceedings. Human resources is crucial, and this is important. So if the commission is willing to make recommendations to support the judiciary with funds to upgrade its systems, especially the support staff, in terms of record keeping and training of judicial staff. This will help a lot. Secondly, there are certain norms and practices in our culture, which I am not sure if it falls within the mandate of this commission. It's more for the Human Rights Commission. But the tradition of slavery need to be seriously addressed. I'm saying so because I am involved in the middle of the slavery cases in the URR.
Katuko nda niaje ngafo nte fongo da bulata nying diamol kono mingi yalon ko welebe kerim base tundola ni nata jongol la fana.
And as I speak,
adumbe diamo ke ten sa nyam sa
there is a serious security threat in that region.
Andung niaji be mbe diamo kan ten sa nyami kanto bunda akada feneti mi yalon ko kuba da bulaka kono.
And the state needs to address that issue publicly and rather than remain silent. And thirdly, I want to appeal to all Gambians and even non-Gambians working with in the government and NGOs. We are losing a lot of valuable time. If I'm taking example from where I work in the courts, people need to respect the time of work, time of break, and time of closing, because they are being paid for it, and from the poor people's taxes. But this is an issue that is a national issue. People, instead of working at 8 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, they are not in the office. At 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, they are closed. And there is no assistant. And that business is suspended until the next day. And if we keep on carrying over suspended business on a daily basis, it will be very difficult for us to move forward. Well, finally, I wish to thank the TRRC for the wonderful job that is ongoing. And I am confident that the recommendations will be considered by the government, not like other commissions where you pick and choose. And I want to thank my family especially. Of course, my parents, because I'm here today due to the blessing of my parents. Otherwise, I would have been gone a long time ago. And being a reconciliation commission, I wish to make an apology to everyone. You offend some consciously. You offend others unconsciously. But from the bottom of my heart, I'll forgive each and everyone who offended me. And I'm also appealing for forgiveness from each and everyone else that I offended, either consciously or unconsciously. And I thank you very much. That is all.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. MBOGE, for your testimony and for the concluding remarks that you just made. And we are sorry that you had to endure so much difficulty all these years. Thank you very much indeed. Council, you have submissions to make for
yes.
debates?
There's a protected information sheet Mr. MBOGE is requested to sign, and then I'll ask that it be exhibited.
Thank you. Yeah.
This should be Exhibit 216.
216?
Yes, I believe, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
We had 215 yesterday.
Yes, we had them at 215. Okay. That's good. Thank you all very much. And Council, are we ready with the next witness? We can go for another 2 hours.
We'd be ready tomorrow morning, Mr. Chair.
Thank you all very much indeed. And we will resume our proceedings tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock sharp. Thank you all very much. And interpreters, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Meeting is adjourned.
Gambia may be the smallest country in Africa, but it will host the second largest gathering of world leaders in 2022. To successfully host the OIC Summit and put the Gambia on the global stage, the government of the Gambia set up OIC Gambia to mobilize resources for the implementation of key developments